Information-fueled.
Opinion-driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Dan Mandis here, along with Joan Jones, KGB. Jeff Malinoff is producing today for your Monday, January 13th. I knew this was going to happen. Per ICE sources, remember we talked about this on Friday. The man seen in a viral video being subdued by residents in California, arrested by police because he had a blowtorch. Near the Kenneth Fire in West Hills, California, is an illegal alien from Mexico. Yep. Juan Manuel Sierra Levaya. He is now in custody on a probation violation. He has not been charged with arson. Apparently, ICE placed a detainer request on him with the LA County Sheriff's Department, but they do not expect that retainer to be honored due to California, of course, their sanctuary state law. So now this is, of course, who's shocked by this? No one. No one is shocked by this. If it ultimately is determined that this illegal alien was running around Southern California, starting fires, and we're seeing a number of different things going on in Southern California. Number one, yes, all of these fires, obviously. But number two is these roving gangs of looters. That's number two. And number three, the accusations that, among others, illegal aliens are starting these fires. The whole thing is just insanity. And yet the fires, of course, continue to burn. You've got Gavin Newsom and the Democrats, Karen Bass, of course, the Democrat mayor as well. They're all playing defense. So we're going to get into that and a whole lot more. But here's part of the news cycle today. I'm not going to start with the fires. I'm going to start with the fires in the 6 o'clock hour, because the battle going on between Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump, it is becoming absolutely epic. But I do want to start with illegal immigration, and there's a reason why. There is a story out there that is actually not even really being covered, because all the news is hyper-focused right now on the fires and all the other stories that are out there today. But a week before Donald Trump begins the biggest mass deportation in American history, did you hear what Biden did on Friday? President Biden, with a week left, is doing all he can do to pull the rug out from under incoming President Donald Trump. He is doing whatever he can to protect illegal aliens. And this is from the New York Times. The Biden administration on Friday issued sweeping extensions of deportation protections for hundreds of thousands of people. Listen to these nations: from Sudan, Ukraine, El Salvador, and Venezuela, in a move that makes it almost impossible for President-elect Donald Trump to swiftly deport them, according to the New York Times. And so not only has Biden over the last 3 years, of course, as we all know, done everything he can to welcome all these illegal aliens into our country, now he's making Donald Trump's campaign promise even harder to fulfill by extending all of these deportation protections. So this is going to make it harder. They say, according to the New York Times, the extension of temporary protected status, as the program is called, the TPS, temporary protected status, allows the immigrants to remain in the country with work permits and a shield from deportation for another 18 months from the expiration of their current protection in the spring. The decision is set to benefit roughly 234,000 Salvadorans, 1,900 Sudanese, 104,000 people from Ukraine, 600,000 Venezuelans, according to the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees the programs. And so let's all be honest, especially the story about the Venezuelans. Tren de Aragua, They have been gaining footholds in states all across America, including right here in Tennessee. And so when you hear the president doing this, making Donald Trump's job harder, making it harder for President-elect Trump to do what he promised the American people that he would do, it just shows you to be perfectly honest, the kind of person that Joe Biden is and the kind of party the Democrats are. Because this is, as you know, one of the biggest things that the American people voted on was mass deportation and illegal immigration. And by the way, Donald Trump has said that he is going to begin to scale down the temporary legal status program once he gets into office. Now, J.D. Vance needs some audio here, KGB. J.D. Vance was on Fox News on Sunday, of course, incoming vice president. And he said, watch for yet another ploy by the media and Democrats when they talk about, and I'm going to air quote this, separating families.
This term is something you're going to hear a lot in the next couple of months, the next couple of years, family separation. I think it's important. That's a euphemism. That is a dishonest term to hide behind the fact that Joe Biden has not done border enforcement.
It's exactly right. And now the American people have voted in Donald Trump, who will have border enforcement. And again, Biden is doing all he can to pull the rug out from under Donald Trump. And yeah, J.D. Vance is right. They're trying to completely distract from the real issues impacting you, impacting me, impacting Tennessee, and impacting Americans. And so for every scream of, oh, they're separating families, let's also remind America of the crimes of these folks. Tren de Aragua, right? Sex trafficking, drug trafficking, murder, assaults, MS-13, same deal. They started in L.A., really took hold in El Salvador. And again, we'll start with, we'll go back to the story that I started with, the guy from Mexico who is an illegal alien who is accused of starting the Kenneth Fire, running around with a blowtorch. It's insanity.
If you say, for example, in the United States, we have a guy who's convicted of a violent crime and has to go to prison, we want that guy to go to prison. But yes, it does mean that that guy is going to be separated from his family. That is the consequence of committing violence upon your fellow citizens. If you come into this country illegally, you need to go back home. You need to have basic law enforcement. And what the Democrats are going to do is they're going to hide behind this. They're going to say that this is all about compassion for families. It is not compassion to allow the drug cartels to traffic small children. It is not compassionate to allow the worst people in the world to send minor children, some of them victims of sex trafficking, into our country. That is the real humanitarian crisis at the border.
Oh, and there is a huge humanitarian crisis, of course, at the southern border, but also here in America, because as you heard J.D. Vance say, and the New York Times itself has reported all those missing kids here in America where nobody seems to know where they are. Have they been sex trafficked? Are they working under horrible conditions? Slave-like conditions? Kids 12, 13, 14 years old? Can anybody even find these kids? And so J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, they're absolutely right. Aside from the violent crimes, there's also other things that incoming President Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Tom Homan, they are going to have to deal with. Oh, and by the way, but wait, there's more. And we're going to talk about what J.D. Vance said during this interview on Fox News with Shannon Bream. That and a whole lot more. Also, what did J.D. Vance say about the J6ers? Because there are a lot of people, including J6ers, the families of J6ers, and also supporters of the January 6th people that are being held right now in horrible and deplorable conditions. J.D. Vance said something to really upset them, and I've got that audio for you as well. It is all straight ahead. Very busy morning. 5:16. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Delays. There's some construction set up in spots in the left lane on I-24 westbound, but otherwise looking really good this morning. Just have to watch out for icy spots, mainly on the back roads where things froze over again last night. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
5:16 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As far as your weather today, high of 38. And right now, what did you say, KGB? It's 32?
30 right now.
30 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Talking about Joe Biden doing whatever he can to protect the illegal aliens that are currently here. And he's making it really hard for Donald Trump to be able to deport these folks. What the current president has done, he's extended their temporary protected status, which means that it is going to take months for Donald Trump, theoretically, to be able to deport these folks, specifically from places like Sudan, Ukraine, El Salvador, and Venezuela. Now, they hate us in Sudan, just to let you know. Yeah, they do not like us in Sudan. We have no idea who has come across our southern border from Sudan. Of course, El Salvador, Venezuela as well. We could talk about MS-13. We could talk about Tren de Aragua coming out of Venezuela as well. All of this from the New York Times. Now, I started off the program with this because I didn't hear word one of this over the weekend. Did you? I mean, I do watch some of the Sunday shows, and I did not hear this discussed, and it really does need to be discussed. And so aside from the violent crimes, of course, that people talk about, and it's an easy putt, to be perfectly honest with you, but think about the resources. California, we talked about this extensively on Friday. California has spent billions and billions of dollars on these illegal aliens. Tens of billions of dollars that, by the way, could have gone to fixing the infrastructure. Of course, the infrastructure has been in the news. We know that one of the big reservoirs right near the Palisades fire, in what can only be described as an absolutely epic photo, was drained right before the Palisades fire because they needed to fix it. And so that's a conversation in and of itself. But here's the deal, is that all the money that they have spent on these illegal aliens could have been used to more quickly fix the infrastructure, fix the aqueducts and continue to building the aqueducts and basically fix that water transfer infrastructure that they seem to have issues with in California. And don't get me started on the whole homeless situation. And so all of this to say that the Democrats, they are really on the defensive with a lot of their policies, whether it is at the state level or at the federal level. Now, the Democrats, again, are going to say that, and this is part of the news cycle, that it's not compassionate to deport families or separate families or whatever. But here's my deal, is we got to send them a message that they are unwelcome. That is what happened on day one of Donald Trump's first administration, and that is what is going to happen on the first day of his second term in office. And you know that the president is going to assign a lot of executive orders. I would assume he's going to restart Remain in Mexico, build the wall, rescind catch and release, give ICE whatever the authority they need to be able to deport these criminals. There's a lot more. J.D. Vance, by the way, talked about how we do need to really make America unwelcome. You know, I used to say this all the time. We need to pull the welcome mat away and put it back in the house, man, because they're coming here, and they have been coming here because Biden and the Democrats make them feel welcome.
We can't buy into this lie that law enforcement at the American southern border is somehow not compassionate to families who want to cross illegally. Our number one responsibility is compassion to our fellow Americans, and that starts with enforcing the southern border. You cannot have a country of law and order, of stability, of basic good governance unless you get control of what Biden has left us at the American
Well, that was sudden.
Show's going well so far.
I thought I did something for a second. I'm like, what just happened?
KGB, what are you doing in there? Good Lord.
A clear sign that it was your fault, Dan.
You know what? It's funny if you watch the camera, you will probably see me jump a mile in the air.
It's Monday.
Because, you know what? That actually is my bad. I was trying to do something.
And you're not in your jammies and slippers today like
that's
you were
the
on
big
Friday.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry for the visual, by the way. People, so. Hey, look, when it's supposed to air. Anyway, got a lot more straight up. Coming up, why are J6ers and the J6 community, why are they angry with J.D. Vance? That audio is coming up. 5:21. Joan Jones is coming up with the news at 5:30. Joan, what's up?
Yeah, the death toll in California jumped overnight. We'll tell you what's going on there and why things are maybe a little slick as you're heading in this morning. An accident that kind of is very telling about how the roads are looking this morning. We'll have all that coming up for you at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.